Hello, hello. Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. I am here today with Melissa Alexander. Say your company name again.
Melissa Solutions, LLC.
Melissa?
Melissa. Yeah.
Melissa. I love it. So, in total transparency, Melissa started out with Lady Powerhouse as an intern. How did we connect?
Through Alignable.
Alignable, that's right. Met on Alignable, and she's like one of my top people on my team now. And but she did an internship, and we put her to work, and it's been a fabulous relationship. And so then we realized after she'd been working in on the podcast and inside the back end, wait, you've never been a guest. So I didn't do the spiel today about what the podcast is about and why we do the podcast. If you're interested in hearing that, go to ftcpodcast.com. You can read all about it. I'm not going to waste any valuable time right now doing that. Normally, Laura is my co-host, and she's having technical dickies today, as we call them. And she may or may not pop back in. We shall see. And but today, or with every episode, we start out with talking about certain themes, right? We talk about collaboration over competition. That's our main, what do we call it? Pillar. And then abundance mindset. And last but not least, this idea that there's the abundance mindset, that there's more than enough to go around. Boy, I can't talk today. And collaboration over competition. And there's another one that I can't remember right now. And I thought saying the other two would help me, but it didn't. So we're moving right along. But one of the things that I think most of us, I hope most of us have come across someone in our entrepreneurial journey that has been pivotal in being a mentor or some kind of encouragement to us and support. And so for me, it was really similar to you. I met someone that was running a VA business and doing training. So, and you had a really good experience as well, but it was a different person. So, what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I had been searching for something to do. I was working at the time out in corporate full time, and I just wanted a different life. It's not like I didn't enjoy the work, but I felt like it was constraining, and I wasn't, living. I knew there was so much more to explore out there than merely just having a desk job. And so, but I valued the skills that I had learned and that I was using. But I really wanted to learn the business aspect of things, how to run a business, how to have that life away from corporate, the 9 to 5, okay, you clock in here and have lunch here,
It's ingrained. We're conditioned.
Exactly.
Like, this is what you do.
Exactly. So I started Googling seriously, and I believe it was on Facebook. I saw an ad for VA Connections with Belinda Santor. She owns a VA education industry company that trains VAs, virtual assistants, from the ground up. And the way the ad was placed is that she would also teach us how to run the business aspect of it, like from start to finish, total beginner. And I was like, wow, that's just what I needed. And when I clicked on her ad, she also said she would offer study hall sessions, which were live sessions where when you just start in the program, she would give you, she would basically walk you through it, answer any questions you might have, and be there for a full hour to answer any questions you might have about business, about starting it, about the program itself, just anything. And so I was like, wow, that's what I really need, because typically when you sign up for these types of programs, there's like you don't see the owner or you don't have resources,
Right, right. Or they
left to
have
figure it out.
other coaches that was my situation was the face of the company didn't do the actual, well, she did do actual coaching, but she also had other coaches that coached. It wasn't just her. And so I ended up with a different coach that I loved.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it was a similar structure, but it sounds similar, but the way you explained it was like more hands on. Like she was there for everything.
very hands-on. And what was great was the members in the group could also jump in and offer their help. Like maybe somebody had a very technical question or didn't
Hmm.
know how to use a certain app,
Right.
that was like either rare or like people, don't use very often and needed some guidance. And maybe somebody in the group had experience with that. Then they could also jump in and offer.
Was it like a Facebook group? That's what we had.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a group.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Um, what was the next question? Abundance mindset. I really liked the way that you frame it for yourself, and I would love to share that because what you said was there was this process, this experience that you went through of leaving corporate, which is so common in the guests that we have on the podcast. A lot of these women came from corporate, or they're still there, right? But they're trying to carve and make it different. um, but you went through a process and you were able to find this life, right? A different life, a different world, in home business ownership that allowed you freedom. But freedom, people think financial freedom when you hear that,
Mhm.
right? um, but for you and I, because I totally agree with you, it's more about time freedom than money freedom. It's more about mindset freedom and spiritual freedom, that kind of freedom. And the way you said it was that you could create so much more than what conventional knowledge had taught you.
Mhm.
And that it's more than about financial abundance, but emotional and spiritual abundance, and having that peace of mind, having satisfaction in your daily living, and the relational happiness with those that are around you, the people you surround yourself with, your chosen family, your chosen posse, your team or tribe, or whatever you want to call it. And that contributes far more than an abundant state of mind when from a financial aspect. Um, so when you talk about the process, that's the part we like to talk about, this journey, right? Oh, there she is. Yay!
Yay! Hi,
She's here.
Laura. She can
She
hear
may
me.
not stay, but she's here. Welcome in, Laura. We already prepared
Will
everybody to
be.
know that you may pop in.
Oh my God, good.
Yeah,
Thank
awesome.
you. I'm
So,
still glitchy, but
yeah, it's a little delayed, but it's good to see your face and have you here. Melissa was just going to talk about abundance mindset and what led her to what she described in
Yeah.
her intake. Um, what was that process? What did that look like? Because that's what we need to hear and share.
Yeah. So I had a very career-minded mother. She was, in my mind, she was the ultimate super mom. She worked full time at a high-powered corporate job. She was one of the top supervisors at Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena. Um, and she also took care of us at home. She had some babysitters, but primarily she did everything in the evenings, bathing, feeding, and she worked full time. So growing up, I, I thought of working out there as the ultimate thing, like because I wanted to be the mom. She she had a professional career. A lot of the mothers in the school that I went to did stay home. They were like homemakers. And, not to put digs on homemakers, but some of them don't really take care of themselves. And so they would just come in, whatever, they wouldn't even fix their face or something. And here mom was, always put together in her suit and hair done and everything. And so I grew up with this mindset that, having a 9 to 5 was it, this was the life. And of course, you get that from talking with other people or just in the general American
general pervading
pervading
expectation.
expectations. And this was a
Mhm.
time, I grew up in the 80s. Yeah, I know I'm
Yeah.
dating myself here, but in those days, I think young people now know the choices we have with entrepreneurship and this sort of thing, but that was not so much a thing.
It's
It was,
much more normalized now.
yeah, it was around, but it wasn't as popularized, I think, as now. And so, I was like, well, that's the way to go. I'm going to pick a career and work really hard and get married and buy a house, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. Um,
All
and that
the
was
things.
my mindset for a long time. Even after my mother started her business and started sharing me some of the things that she was discovering with home business ownership. Even after that, I was still kind of hesitant because I'm just like, no, I'm comfortable where I am. I'm, making the money I can make, and I don't know how to make it any other way. And so I was still very hesitant. But she continued persisting in trying to draw me away from that. And this is where the value, I think, of education and knowledge in this comes to playing. Because if you're not aware, then how can you change? How do you know to change?
Mm.
But she kept enticing me. You don't, you can work your own hours. You can create your own thing, and this is what I'm doing. And she started multiple businesses. When she first started, it was kind of a more network marketing business because she didn't know about all the other types of businesses. So it was like a network marketing business, which was, there are parts that MLM is great and not so great, but the thing that was great about it is they really emphasized the financial or the educational aspect
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
residual
They're
income.
very good at educating
Very,
their
very,
people.
very, very good. Drawing people away from that corporate lifestyle to, the contrast between that lifestyle and making your own money and opening your own business. And they would, portray stories and testimonies of people who've done that, left their bank job, left whatever, and then now created millions, or thousands of dollars. So it intrigued me, and I went to the training meetings. And then I started little by little helping her. Um, Surprisingly, on the back end to begin with, I did some of her books, but she was really wanting the business itself, the product. She started with a juice product to begin with. It was a very popular juice product, and everyone was taking it, and it was like the biggest hit thing.
Yeah, I can
In
see
the
it, but I
90s.
can't think of the name of it.
It was noni. It was a noni juice. It's from Hawaii or Tahiti.
Okay, that I've never heard of. Interesting.
Yeah. Now you can buy it at any health food store. It's so common, but back then it was like on the front lines. Like this was the newest thing that was
Okay.
discovered. And she got on the front end because the company was new, and she was just getting started. And what really hit me through and what started to change my process, and I was about now just starting college. Like I was finishing high school and thinking about moving into college when she was getting into this business, was the fact that number one, she left her corporate job when I was 9 years old to stay home with us. So she had started this process a long time ago. But at the time, my dad was still working. He was supporting them. Eventually, he also retired, but he was still working and supporting all of us. So she didn't really have to work. Um, eventually when he did quit, she did. But so I had known about this for a long time, but she had never really fully jumped into it until this time when she started with this juice company. And so I was like, whoa, okay. What really impressed me was she left her corporate job, but then she started this business. And then because of the power of residual income, where, residual income, as you build something,
Mm-hmm.
you get leverage, and then it continues to pay you even after you kind of step away. Well, because of the way this company was structured, where you have people under you that help, kind of support you, and then also, um, you build teams. You're able to do that. She actually left for 2 years to help my grandparents in the Philippines because they were very sick. They were dying. Left that business for 2 years, but my dad and my brother and I, still continued to receive support through her efforts, the years prior that she had done to build it. That impressed me so much, just the value of starting something that is your own, and it continuing.
Yeah,
And
that return on investment.
that return on your investment
Yeah.
so impressed my mind that when I went off to college, I picked as my major. I was a business major, but I picked entrepreneurship as my emphasis because I wanted to ultimately do that when I finished. Because I was like, wow, if I can help my mom after I finish college and then, you know, build my own business one day, that would be great. So that was talking about process. That was the beginning, and how I got, from corporate mindset to like seeing the value of home business ownership through her example, through her constant, exposure to me of these these things. And
So, but you still graduated college, went into corporate
still went to yes,
before you started your own business.
because I was still hesitant that it would work for me. I saw how it worked for her and for other people, but I'm like, man, it seems complicated. Like, you give yourself so many excuses for
Yeah,
one.
but not me. It won't work for
Yeah,
me. I
exactly. Like,
can't do that.
well, I don't know how to do that. Like, I'm not whatever, it seems too complicated, like all that business stuff. Like, it's a business, but it's like,
Even
I'm
though
like,
you had a degree in business with an emphasis in entrepreneurship, I point that out because imposter syndrome is a real thing, y'all.
exactly.
Like you
Hmm.
can have the degree, you can have the experience, and still think you're not worthy or
Yeah.
capable. Um, so what made you realize that?
Again, that was through a process. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Yep.
Um, but through the years, it was still in my mind. Even through all those times I was going through, all these jobs at corporate, I still had this thing in the back of my mind that I should create a business for myself and that it would at least be a good side hustle. So I've been searching for many years, on the internet, trying this, trying that, looking up this. And I've ran into several possibilities, but it was, one thing or the other. The excuse is the imposter syndrome. Fast forward to 2021, and I came across Belinda's program for the first time. And she gave a 5-day trial, a 5-day free trial of her program, where she basically walked you through every aspect for free. And so at that point, I knew I wanted to start, but I waited for a year. And then 2022 went by. 2023, I said I should probably look into this more seriously. And I was going through some personal challenges. And at the end of 2023, at this time already, I joined Belinda's program in 2023, actually in fall. But I was doing it part time. I was still working, but also trying to do the business, which was incredibly hard to do both.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Been there.
And
Yes.
so the personal challenges finally caught up to me at the end of 2023. I was feeling very overwhelmed and very anxious. I had so much anxiety and depression that I just couldn't continue doing what I was doing. It came to the point where it was just so overwhelming. And so that's what ultimately pushed me to make a decision to quit and start, um, you know, throw myself fully into it, not just part time.
Hmm. So go all in.
How's that? Go all in. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think it's for women especially. We have to get almost to that point where our lowest, where we're flat on our back and there's nowhere else to look but up,
I
before we make the real change and go all in on something. Um,
I want to note something. Sorry, Angelique. I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt you. I just realized I was probably glitching there. But what came to mind was it's very interesting that we suffer with the same problems, but the three of us have very different backgrounds. Like the difference in backgrounds amongst the three of us is pretty insane. But we all face the exact same things a lot of times. Like we're all facing some of the same problems and where our mindset is and what's happened and things like that. So I find it highly interesting that that is the outcome that, because we think about, well, what if, I had two parents? Or what if, my family was the corporate family lifestyle? Well, that doesn't stop you from having doubts and different things that you're changing in your mindsets and things that you were taught that you now realize, oh, maybe I don't need to have that mindset, things like that. So it's very interesting because that does take out also that need of comparison or, well, they had this or that or whatever, but it's like we're all suffering through a lot of the same problems with so very different backgrounds, where you could think, it might be easier had I had this, or had my family, been toward this, way, I would have known more coming into it or whatever. But in the end, I probably still would have faced the same imposter syndromes and mindset problems and overcoming things that I've been programmed to know or yeah, you should do this. So I just wanted to
I
note
had
that
to
it's just
embrace
very
it.
interesting how
Yeah, I had to embrace it for myself. Like you were saying, Laura, just because I was exposed to it, had the early exposure, kind of, should have just fallen into it based on, my background with my mom being in that, should have, you would think automatically, but no, I had to go through my own process. And until I did that, I couldn't fully latch onto it.
yeah.
So yeah.
So that's when we left off with you had enrolled, and then you had personal challenges, and you decided, okay, that's it, I'm going all in. How how long were you in corporate total?
That's a good question. Over 15 years. For
Okay,
sure.
that's fine. Yeah, hey, that's fair enough,
I can't
right?
give you an exact.
No, but
Yeah.
like we're not talking just a couple years. Oh, I'm fed up. We're talking
Right.
about 15 years of going to work 9 to 5 every day, putting up with the office politics and the passive aggressive crap, and uh, we know. Um, and then you go all in. You find this program, you buy it, you finally do the thing, right? Um, how long do you feel like, or do you think you're there yet? How long do you feel like it took for you to feel comfortable in getting up every day and saying, this is my business, this is what I'm doing?
It took a while. Like even after I quit my corporate job and went all in, it took at least half a year for me to fully, step into like, this is my life. And that's about the time I met you guys, because it took me a while to even get into the networking aspect of it, because I was terrified. Like, you don't do anything. I mean, think about it, guys. You don't do anything like that in corporate. Like, you don't, unless you're a salesperson or in marketing, you don't go up to somebody and say, I'm Melissa and I'm a virtual assistant. Like,
Yeah.
That's not what you do. I mean, it's self-promoting. It's just there. You just work there. You don't necessarily promote it like that.
Right.
So for me to do that was definitely, taking me out of my comfort zone. But as I started doing it more, I became more familiar, and I was starting to, get more of the hang of it and to actually enjoy it. And obviously I enjoyed the conversation with you, Angelique. And I was like, oh, this is, there are some great people out here. And I was starting to meet other people too that, were curious about my services, and to make connections, to be able to refer them. And I was like, this is just a different world, and it's great. It's scary. It was scary to begin with, but once I made the leap, once I overcame my fear by doing the thing. That's why they say do the thing that you're afraid of, and then later on you won't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
It's true. For me, I just had to step in and do it, even if it was imperfect, or I didn't know what I was doing, or I was like, oh, I messed up or something. To just continue doing it, and then it gets more comfortable. It gets more familiar, and I learned to work through certain obstructions in my mind that I had about it. The fears is only a fear because you haven't actually maybe stepped into it to find out that it's not that bad.
So it looks like we had our power partner call in
November,
October of 2024.
October of last year. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. We're almost coming to our 1 year. No way.
Yeah. I just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
I was like pulling it up on my calendar.
That is so crazy.
So there was another challenge that you faced, and I don't want to skip over it because I think it's a good analogy, a metaphor, if anything else. And we talked a little bit about that in the green room before we went live. And hold on, I want to backtrack. So you've been doing your business for 2 years, going on 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So congratulations on that. Okay, so the other thing you did was you ran a marathon. That's a pretty big deal. I don't know if anyone else out there, I know there are plenty of people out there who have trained for a marathon, right? And here's my story. I trained for a marathon, and I think it was just half marathon, and I was just going to walk it. I wasn't even trying to run.
Oh, okay.
And I got up to the 5, and we had a trainer. We had a set training schedule that we did, and so it works you up from a half a mile to 1 mile to 2 miles to 3 miles. I got to the 5 mile mark and blew out my knee. Ended up having surgery and not being able to do it at all. So marathon training, don't play. Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And this was 20 years ago, y'all. I was a little younger and more fit. Okay. So what's your story about the? I guess
you know what? I got injured too. It's so crazy because if my injury got to me, if I let it, it would have taken me out as well. Like I started training. My running history was actually very interesting because I started so that I ran my marathon in 2017, but I ran my first 5K in 2016 in March of 2016. That's when I started actually running. Felt so good that I decided to do a half marathon at the end of 2016. I was like, yes, I was like pumped up and started doing all this stuff. When I started training for it, I started getting runner's knee, which, was when your knee starts paining, there's things that start happening, inflammation and stuff. And it usually happens with new runners because maybe they push too hard or, there's various
It's
factors.
repetitive movement, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had runner's knee so bad. I was hurting so much. I was like, I don't know if I can continue training. But I persisted. I swam in the pool is what I did.
Yeah.
It was low impact. And so I'm like, well, at least I don't lose movement. I'm not actually running, but at least I'm still moving. And so did that for a bit and then got back into it. But yeah, the training aspect is definitely the most pivotal when you're getting ready to doing these things. And so I ran that half marathon, felt so good that I decided to train for the full.
Yeah.
In March of the next year.
Okay, so
November.
For those who aren't runners, 5K is equal to how many miles?
5K is 3 miles.
Okay. She went from 3 miles to a half marathon,
13 miles,
which is 13.1 miles, to 26.2, which is a full marathon.
In a year.
Within a year. Okay. Well, and we wonder why you have runner's knee. But anyway.
Exactly. So
because the thing about training for a marathon, and again, I wouldn't know this unless I had at least started it and actually continued to go out with the team, because I was part of the fundraising team for this. It was a fundraising event. And cheer them on, yay, But we did weekly team runs, but there's a daily running schedule. Like you have to run every single day, even if it's just a little bit. And you just gradually work your way up to that. But that requires a lot of your body and your mind.
Yep.
And I think that's the part, like you were talking about. It's those last 6 miles.
It's mind over miles, as they say, mind over miles. It's just, you got to push yourself. And when I was at mile 21, then I was just like, this is getting so tough. I feel like, and what was worse is our pacer. Every group has a pacer, and so the pacer was with us. It's supposed to be with you to the end, right? At mile, let's see, what's this? At mile 22 or 23, so it was just like almost there. Like we were 3 miles out. He gave out. He dropped out.
No.
Yes. So that, I was already struggling, trying to push. And here's my pacer coming here. And he's like, I just can't, my knee. I guess he got really injured, like his knee. He did, in his defense, he did Ironman before this. He was telling us he did like an Ironman, that big race. And so he probably thought, a marathon is going to
no big deal.
No big deal compared. Well, it took him out. I tell you, he was done. He was just, he dropped out.
It's a cumulative effect. It's not about,
no.
Yeah. But to watch your pacer drop out,
that
does more for your morale. So your body's screaming at you to stop, and the only thing keeping you going is your mind.
Exactly. And I was picturing my family, my friends waiting for me.
Yes. Not disappointed, not disappointing
emotional now. I kind of get emotional because, at that point I wanted to see them so bad. Like, I was just like, they're waiting for me. They're waiting to cheer me on. And when I finally got to the finish line, it was like so emotional. Like I wasn't crying now, but I was just so happy. I
Yeah.
was so happy to see them. My best friend at the time, she's like, I'll be there and I'm gonna run the last 0.2 miles with you. And she was there and she was
Oh, that's
ran the last
awesome.
2 miles with me. So yeah, it was an incredible experience. I say it was one of the most difficult experiences of my life, just for the mental aspect of
Right.
pushing through
Yeah.
to the very end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we've faced something that we feel like is impossible,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had my fair share. But the choice to give up isn't there. For me, it was always my girls. It was always my girls. I couldn't give up because of the effects that it would have on them. Whether it was because they would see me give up, or it was because, um, you know, not going to work that day because I was tired would affect how I could provide for them, or how, I showed up in the world for them, you know. But as a parent, from that aspect, that's and there was times too, even when they were grown, like when my mom passed away,
Mm.
that was a really hard time to get up and keep going. Um, because that year had been just this um, shit show, a dumpster fire, because my mother came to visit. Well, before that, I had a partial hysterectomy, and I was only in my 30s. So it was very emotional. It's like, oh, I can't
Oh no.
have any more children, blah, blah, blah. And I
Mm-hmm.
was trying to decide if I really wanted to do it because I was married. Theoretically, I could have, had another baby. I didn't want to. My kids were in sophomore, junior, senior in high school.
Mm.
Then my daughter got pregnant in her senior year, the same year. Yay,
Wow.
mom, pregnant, full scholarship, stressful. Okay.
Oh,
Um, then I was like, okay, well, there's no way I'm having a kid if she's having a kid. That's not happening. So I had the hysterectomy. Later that same month, my mom came to visit. 2 months later, she died. She's supposed to be visiting. She passes away. My daughter has her baby the next month. And 2 months later, I got married.
wow. That
All
just
in the
like
same
hit you
year.
all. Yeah.
It was crazy pants. Um, so getting up every day definitely was a choice that I had to like make. It was very reminiscent of when I see Mel Robbins talk about the countdown, like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not, because if you or 3, 2, 1 or whatever she does, I don't know what it is, but I had to do a similar type of thing. Like it's where, okay, I know you don't feel like it, but you still got to get up because there's a baby, or there's, a funeral, or there's a wedding. Plus, I was working full time, and I never just worked full time. I always had some other side hustle, or freaking start, oh, let's open a bookstore. What the hell was I thinking? Um, while continuing to work full time. So I always did something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was at that point. Maybe it was nothing because I was so burnt out. But we function in this state of what feels like burnout and just being on autopilot and not really being present in our life.
But the incredible part is the pushing through, you know. Like you said, you made a choice to get up every day. And I really believe that's at the heart of anything, that we want to do to change. It's one decision at a time, one moment at a time.
But look at the contrast between where you were then, right? Where I was, and where I am now, where like I look forward to
Exactly.
waking up in the morning. Not only because am, well, I'm living with someone that I want to wake up with, right? Which wasn't always the case in my life. Okay. There was so much of my life I woke up in this state of anxiety of, okay, what personality am I getting today?
Yeah.
You know?
What am I going to face?
Uh-huh. Um, and if it wasn't with my partner, it was these people at work that were psycho. Um, so the contrast between that and enjoying what you do, looking forward to working with clients, knowing that I have the time freedom that, the cat, this is an example. This is happening to one of my friends who owns her own business. Her dog ate the entire rawhide without chewing it.
What? Nuh-uh.
Something, a bone or something. And it had to take her dog to the vet, emergency type of situation, because this dog swallowed the thing whole. But because she has her own business, she can be like, yep, this takes priority.
Yeah.
I'm going to go save my dog's life, And her dogs are just like her kids, like so many of us. Our pets are our babies.
Yeah.
But having the ability to do that,
having the choice,
that kind of freedom, instead of being like, getting home and from your corporate job and finding your dog is dead, or something awful like that. Wow, that took a turn, didn't it? Let's go back to how much fun it is to work for ourselves. I don't know if I could go back.
I haven't traveled so much as I did last year.
Nice.
And I could do it. My husband is a pilot. He works for the FAA now, but they send him often on these flying trips, and where we go out of town and he stays for a week or a few days, whatever. I was able to go with him every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And we covered the Midwest, Texas, Oklahoma. We visited states we hadn't seen before, and I was just able to be with them. And I would have never have been able to do that.
Right.
Working.
Because this business is virtual and it moves with you.
Exactly.
You can be a nomad and still work. And I think the last 5 years have just proven how feasible that really is. I remember being in corporate and talking to the chief of staff at the company that I was with at the time. And at that time, we were just talking about the ability for our coaches and our consultants and salespeople to work not in the office. Like when they're not out there doing their sales job, to be able to do it from wherever and just pop in and just have desks available if when they need it, and being able to check
Wow.
the cubicle out, right? And that was such a novel idea at that time. I remember this was 2018, 19.
Crazy.
And then by the next year, everybody's working from home, y'all.
That became a thing. Like no one's even.
Yeah. So she's back. Welcome back, Laura.
Oh, I sent you a text message that you could leave me backstage just in case. But it looks like
no, I don't. I try not to look at the texts. But
yeah. No worries.
Anyway, well, if you, and I often ask this question. I don't always ask this question, but it's not on the intake, so it's definitely off the cuff. So take your time to answer. If you could give one piece of advice to another woman out there who's struggling to decide whether she wants to start her own business, work from home, quit her corporate job, what would you say to her to help her decide whether it's to stay or leave?
I would say number one, get more awareness. Because for me, awareness was power. The more I learned more about it and was exposed to the people that were doing it, the more that it pushed me to make my decision. And the hesitancy, the fear, I finally was able to, because really, if I didn't find Belinda's program and saw that got all those, she gave all those resources, that study hall, you know, I would have been like, well, that's half my excuses gone, because now she's actually helping. She's going to be with me like every step of the way. Like I'm not alone. And
Yeah.
so finding the right resources is so valuable, whether that's in the form of a person, a mentor, a networking group. Um, I would say networking groups, if I had, gotten even at that point into one of those, even if I wasn't in business, then it would have been around you all, and it would have been so encouraging, because, you would have shared your stories and would have encouraged me even further to do that. But even in just, my own Googling and gaining the resources I did, that was very, very empowering to finally step out and say, this is possible for me, because I I can I'm not alone in this.
Right. You're not alone. And
Yeah.
I mean, really brings us full circle, because that's what this podcast is about, is helping
Yeah.
um, female entrepreneurs. Because in the beginning, Laura and I did feel alone. We would get together and honestly, occasionally have a bitch session, um, because we weren't what we were seeing was just this Instagram successes and the bright shiny objects, and that wasn't us. We're a hot mess express over here, and we feel like we're the only ones, but we're not. We know that now.
Right.
um, but everybody's hot mess express looks a little different, or maybe it's not a hot mess express and it's just, I don't know how to start or whatever. I think the bottom line of what you're saying is, um, you know be aware, like make sure that you've got some awareness of what's available out there. But
Yeah.
the second thing I think that I heard that really really influenced you was, um, getting connected and finding, so you don't feel alone, so you don't feel like you're doing this by yourself, because the bottom line is, you don't have to do this by yourself. You shouldn't. You don't have, there's no reason for you to try and do it alone, and there's no shame in not doing it alone, because none of us do it alone. We've all got some kind of support system out there that helped us, whether it's a coach or a mentor or a business bestie, or just, our mom.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And for you had a couple of those, and that's fantastic. um I know for me, I look for people that I can support and that can support me. And Laura and I met in a coaching program. Melissa and I met on Alignable, and we'll drop a link for Belinda's program as well as Alignable, so you get connected with both of those resources that we talked about today. Because Alignable really is, in my opinion, and I am an ambassador, so full transparency there, but I'm an ambassador because I believe Alignable is such a fantastic network, platform. And the smart connects that they do are powerful if you're looking to network.
Yeah.
And if you're looking to network and actually get calls, reach out to me. Because more than I've been doing it for 5 years.
Yeah.
Laura, what'd you say?
I was saying, we know plenty of places to, send you to get started in networking and groups and things like that. So whether you're in Florida or Oklahoma, that doesn't matter. Like, we can definitely make those connections. And I started networking before I started building a business. Like, they were like, well, you got to get out there and meet people. So I was like, well, we're in the middle of not being allowed to leave. Well, yeah, get it online. So, and then I started getting clients and was like, oh crap, what do I do? Because I had zero idea what to do, and started my program because I was like, well, okay. You might want to know what to do once you have the clients and that kind of thing. So but it was very interesting because I started my first inclination was, you got to know people.
Yeah.
And that was it. Go meet people.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's funny you say that because I didn't remember that, but I did too. I started networking before I got started my own business full time. So I started networking. I've always had a small business on the side or nonprofit or, volunteer, pro bono, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was doing networking events too. I forgot about that in
It's
St.
funny.
Louis, which
Yeah.
was, I mean, wow, what a fertile ground right there for networking. So thank you, Melissa, for being with us today and sharing your story. I feel like it's so powerful and relatable for other women who are out there that are just starting out, or maybe they're closer to where you are in your business, or maybe they're closer to where Laura and I are, or they could be, have been around for a long time, and hopefully we dropped some good nuggets for someone today. So thank you again. We're going to drop all the comments in the show notes, and we will see you guys next week. Monday, we are live Mondays at 12 Eastern, and right now we're on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live every Monday. So we'd love to see you there. Come on in, ask us questions. We love it when people drop comments while we're in the live. I love that.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Take care.